Hello. I wanted to welcome you to the next very interesting lecture in Windsprint Open, New Tools in the Hands of Artists. I was wondering, I'm very interested in what sort of tools these are. I will be listening to that with a piqued interest. But now I'm leaving the floor to you, gentlemen. Let's start with Jakub. Hi. I would prefer Tomasz to start. He's a specialist in the live shows. Does it work? Well, let's start. We came here once again. We've been here for several years now already to show some new stuff. I was listening in the beginning to the opening lecture of Mr. Sławomir Idziak. He mentioned a lot of interesting things, among others, to work in groups. This somehow stayed with me, and we, as suppliers of equipment, because we are from creativetools company, it's a Polish supplier of tools. Today we'll focus on Blackmagic a bit more, but we are servicing the whole portfolio of the equipment that you can see here today. We, as the supplier of equipment, we also want, but also we do participate with the groups that that make movies. We are on the first front of selection of the equipment, of helping with providing such equipment. So that's why we're here. And at the end of the lecture, I will tell you what we came here with, because it's just a fraction of you can physically get in the rental room, which is one floor up from here. We came here with us. I will sort of spoil this for you immediately. Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K, one of the first pieces of equipment in Europe which you have a chance to work with. It has a great sensor, fantastic frame rate, and it covers a very broad scope of use. So apart from the fact that it can be an etude camera, it can make great lives. It can be used as action cam at big events, because due to its fantastic FPS rate. Here you are limited just by creativity. The tool will not limit your scope of work. So in terms of the details of the camera itself, we'll get in our next slides. We do have a number of slides here. We'll try to take advantage of them. Looking from my perspective, from the Ursa Cine 12K, it's one of the first cameras in Poland. What I can see a colleague here who has another one. There's a third one. I can't tell you who will be using the third one, but there is a third one already in Poland. We have a second new camera from Blackmagic. It's Pixis camera 6K. Here, I think a very, very interesting trifle. As an addition to those cameras are lenses that I took with me, the full frame mid-format lenses. We also have some other lenses which are quite interesting, made by Cook. The third, and here we have the third light Talia. I think that we should start from some basic information. It differs from other cameras that you can see in the market. It differs in sensor and the workflow of work would be different with these cameras. This is not a typical setup that you would have in CMOS. It's a totally new way of setting up the series. Probably you know this technology from smartphones already, which allows you to bind pixels to different resolutions at a higher level, at a higher complexity. In this new technology, the matrix in Ursa 12K was created from the scratch. Everything has been improved. The whole structure has been remade so that the cooling system could stabilize the work of the processor. So I think we can already tell you about the most important features. I stopped with this picture because this camera has been already tested by one of our clients. It has been already, it has already worked in one of our workshops next to Kłodzko. We have a number of interesting pictures from that workshop. Why pictures, not films? It's or videos. It's because it's related to the resolution of this camera and what you can get from this camera by making a bit of a video. I think. What you can see here is a fraction of a wider frame, out of which you can still get the shape of the shape of the skin on this snail. But this picture is much bigger. In 2 to 3 proportion, we get over 100 pixels per frame. So it's full frame. It's extremely efficient monster, full frame monster. So if you make a stop and if you don't have an element of motion blur, you can register more details than on any other camera. At this moment, it's just a matter of lenses which will be able to equal the possibilities of this camera, because if you put if you get a sharp lens, you can get more details, but the best lenses you can get from the photographic range can get to 50 megapixels. This camera still has a buffer and will get maximum of the optics that you will be using. Should I click on? The second sentence that I have in my head after the lecture of Mr. Sławomir Idziak, he mentioned during his first lecture that you should reach higher. For the higher hanging fruit, you saw the ladder, you saw the fruits. What we're bringing to you here are the pieces of equipment which are even higher. It's not the basic sort of photo camera. It's not a basic camera that when you have your etude in your head, whether it's a feature or a documentary. We want to show you here in the lecture something new, something fresh, something that at this stage probably. So I mean, I spoke to many of you yesterday. Many of you probably dream about that because a budget comes into play. On the other hand, you can already touch it, you can get it in a rental, you can work with it. Reach higher. Our company is called Creative Tools. We provide you with creative toolboxes. We're providing you with the tools. So that's why we would want to focus here on those few on the few cameras. Not to talk for too long, Blackmagic democratized the film industry, because what used to cost several millions a few years ago, today is radically cheaper. So if the TV had to spend a lot of money on a transmission vehicle, on a transmission car, thanks to Blackmagic and companies like this can spend 10 times less and have a 10 times more better equipment. So the camera, how much does it cost? The price of this camera, it's about 80,000 zlotys, and you get media inside that. You don't need to buy this additionally. You get additional accessories. Yes, I'm talking with a preview, and it has a lot of innovative solutions. Even if you don't want to get the prompter, you can always download data directly through USB-C. When it comes to the media, you have 8 terabyte module, so this is no small thing. So if in Alexa you wanted to buy discs for 8 terabytes, you could get a good used car. Normally here you have it within the price, in the price. So allow me to turn off this camera for a sec, and the microphone too. It will be easier.
Słuchajcie, to ja go podam tutaj, dotknijcie jak to wygląda. Dosyć ciekawe rozwiązanie.
Okay, so please touch it here. It's quite an interesting solution. Usually these were cards, even red hat cards. So here we have practically discs inside, but if you have a look inside, you can see the PCI, the computer PCI. It has thermal pads here because it heats up. You can have a look at this after our lecture. I'm sending that to you. This is 8 terabytes.
Wiecie co, taki dysk kosztuje w granicach 10
A disk like this costs about 10,000 zlotys.
Natomiast zaraz przejdziemy do...
But in a while we would go to certain calculations, how much you can record in a 12K, how much you can record in 10K, because you have a number of features here, but we'll be talking about them one by one. I'm sorry to say, but I left a reader in the rental room. Eric, could you? We have media 4K. Can you bring them? We'll talk about the reader itself, because this camera is not only the new sensor, which is a totally different sensor when it comes even from the point of view of physics of the sensor. Just working with this camera changes a bit the approach of data wranglers, because we do not have here something like small card extruded from a camera, put in a small reader that is attached to some laptop on the filming set. This can be done in a different way. So shall we try? What else did we write there? We all know that 12K resolution, 12,000 pixels in horizontally, so it's a full HD sensor. We'll compare that with Mini LF. It's a huge sensor. Everything is based on Blackmagic Generation 5, which works very well with colors, which are difficult for typical sensors. When you were asking about many people noted that the nice colors, the red color, the blue, they look great, but they're very difficult in film because they're out of normal scale. Here, the Gen 5 works with that splendidly. In terms of 12K recording, it works very well, and the majority of this camera allows us to work in many different conditions, especially during a longer load that we have during the filming day. Sometimes we turn on the camera, we calibrate the camera for a while, and then it's running for 12 hours. You just change the chargers, you just change the batteries. The problem is that during such a long operation, it gets heated up, and the blacks especially start to change in terms of colors, so which requires a lot of painstaking color correction. Here, the drifts are practically unnoticeable. Let's move on, Tomasz. I would say also a bit here more about the sensor itself. There will be slides about that. Thank you. So listen, this is what the reader looks like. I'll not give it to you directly to your hand, but if you look at this reader, you can insert 3 cards like this. One card is 8 terabytes. There's also supposed to be 16 terabyte cards. We're waiting for them. 16 terabytes cards will also be there, and what else such a reader will give you, apart from the CFast type of a reader where you can transfer the data. It has an inbuilt switch for this event. instead of putting, I mean, apart from putting 1 or 2 or 3 cards into this, we can attach this to 4 laptops and use it as a portable disk to which all of you can already work on this media. You don't have to transfer the data.
Przygrywanie danych z karty na jakąś macierz, to macierz trzeba gdzieś przynieść, zanieść. Można już na planie zdjęciowym, ewentualnie po planie zdjęciowym, włożyć media.
So after the filming set, we can put the media in one place and have it all on all your computers in your network, in post-production, etc. When it comes to the access to the files, of course, we're not saying this is totally, this is something doesn't work. Actually, that works without errors, because there might be errors. So LTO and transferring the data is possible, and we recommend that you follow the guidelines for security of your data. Yes, probably the Netflix group, we already talked about that for some time already. There are good practices related to backupping data. What I said right now here, that right now a data wrangler downloads such card every now and then these cards during the filming set have to have two backup copies. You already have solutions where we download already during the filming set into an LTO tape, which will allow us to have a 3rd copy. In certain production contracts, you already have provisions that you should not have 1 copy. You cannot have 1 copy leaving the set, because if there is a problem, if the data is erased and you have an actor who costs 1 million per day, you cannot, for example, throw a bus into the river twice. There's 1 shot, and if this shot is not done, the film is gone. So, talking a bit more about the media dock, it works in a very simple way. We connect this with Ethernet cable, 10 giga cable to a computer. Computer is visible. It has also the possibility of attaching HDMI, so we can immediately display it on some sort of screen just to see what is there. Of course, we also, with this camera, we have this camera only for a while. During like 1st, 2nd, 3rd phase, we were talking about that. But this workflow of these cameras will be honed to perfection by data wranglers, because this is a newish thing. That's why everybody initially will approach this in its own way. You can put it in the rack. Don't try to move it around in a rack, but it might let's say, as you have a screen right here, it should be done in the same way. We will be able to make, say, big edge cases and put it under the screen as a media dock. Okay, so much about media dock. What else? What do we have here? Okay, we will tell you a bit. There are a few things presented here. I would also want to tell you a bit more from my perspective. You don't have to defend Ursa. All the time, many Polish TV shows were made on mini pro Ursas. They put the bar higher, and now it would be on par with production, cinematic productions. In terms of virtual productions, apart from the fact that we have all the connections and all the sockets to make the interaction with the interwall. In here you can cooperate with LED. Everything is here we have fantastic control through Wi-Fi, through Ethernet. We have additional configuration on like server related, web related. There is a whole range of things that will allow you to work during big multi-camera setups. commercials and documents. Well, Ursa's and Blackmagic's defended their name on the Polish market. These cameras allowed for in a cheap way, like in a budget way, allowed to make such formats where such cameras, if you have a rig, 12K Ursa will work perfectly if you have the right rigging and you use it properly. It will do its job splendidly. Among our clients, I would like to say, we have plenty of customers who are not working on a filming set. They're not even working in the commercial setup. They're using these cameras with a very high resolution. It is not the first 12K camera in the world. There was also Ursa Mini with a smaller sensor, Ursa 35, which was also used. We have clients who produce for stock videos, many formats. So just imagine now that we are able to produce 10 sec material, 10 sec footage about some sort of an animal. We can make it in 12K. I don't know if any one of you, it's just a question to you generally. Has any one of you, have you ever produced anything for stocks, like Adobe stocks for 0.5? You create such a series, just like with pictures. It's nothing else. Photo stocks are still available. You do not have to go to Thailand and look for a tiger in Thailand. You can buy the picture at a given resolution. So if you need it for a poster, you need a better resolution. If it's for a web use, a smaller resolution. Maybe I can use AI, but if we want a live tiger, we can take a photo from stocks. But for some time already now, you can also buy stock videos. Stock videos used to be in HD resolution. They were 4K. There are already 8K. We have clients who use also they use Red Monstrum for such stocks. You make such stocks by going to a concrete place. You have a certain 100 scenarios in your head of certain shots that you want to do. You don't need to go very far. We have a client that uses, I think they use Ursa too. He has prepared at some point a studio very similar to like hospital hall, and he took an actress dressed up as a nurse or a doctor, and he made 100 photos and videos, and he made a fortune, because of course you can always rent out a studio, lighting and camera people, because it all costs. Sławomir Rydziak also in his opening lecture mentioned that a writer just needs a piece of paper and a pen, and the filmmaker requires a bit of equipment which costs some money, and it's good to look for such things every now and then. We have a client in Poland, without mentioning names, but one of their short videos of people dressed colorfully playing a guitar in a forest was used in one of the commercials of a very good car. When he was shooting that, he probably didn't know that it would be used for this. It's one of the things, because we have a 12K sensor here. You can shoot in 12K. What's important, it's not 16:9, it's more square. So we were able to use the anamorphic mode. So multi-format would be much easier, because you can so multi-format then allows to get this in 3:2 and adapt it to their own needs. If somebody would be using documentaries for banners, it would be easier to find shots which will be printable here without any problem. Such a banner to cover a banner, commercial banner standing next to the motorway. when you have 12K image, you can always downgrade it. You can take 4K pictures out of that, 8K. You do not even downgrade anything in terms of it's enough to crop, to select a part of the picture. Big resolutions are used, high resolutions are used for post-production rights, for example. We don't always have a zoom. We can't always get deeper, but if you're working in a 12K resolution, you are able to make a certain picture with a certain lens, of course, which allows us a certain space. And then in the post-production, when the director says, if it was closer, we have no time to change the lens. We can make a zoom. With the 12K, you have a lot of space for a zoom, because you can get to the limit to the physical possibilities of the lens. So today the movies are made for the cinemas are made in 4K. So we have certain possibilities. We have and this snail in the very beginning that I showed you, it was not a picture. It was a frame from a longer scene. At high resolution with good lens, you're able to use such a model that you're creating a shot in 50 FPS. Okay. Even more than 80 FPS in 12K. Can we move to the next slide? Maybe there's something there. This is what we were talking about. I didn't remember that presentation that well, but what do I have in mind? Where are we getting at? What are we getting at? Working in 12K in 50 FPS with such resolution, with the shots which are not very quick. Of course, there is motion blur in cinema, so if you're doing 180 degrees towards moving objects, if you do a frame freeze, there will be a certain blur, because just for example, for the reasons that our eyes should not be also bombarded by too many details. But if you want to make a scene of, I don't know, Normandy landing, the D-Day, it will work very well, and then the freeze frame would be very, very crispy. Fashion production. Just imagine a fashion model who has to have pictures for some sort of a magazine. You can do it on a camera. Let's say you record, I don't know, 10 seconds of footage in 12K. 10 seconds in 12K is 800 frames. You have 800 pictures. Some of them will be bad, but you're bound to have at least one good. The cameras started to get the details, and you have to look at it from the point of view that the amount of information you can get from such a fantastic sensor allows you for much more. It doesn't have to be a movie. You can have if you want to do fashion movies, you don't need an additional photographer on the set. You just have to rescale social media, frame freezes, which will be in high resolution. You can use it on the high, on the big commercial spaces, like the big commercials, and so see how many things you can, how much you can save on this, because you do not need an additional photographer. You do not need to add additional. Also in terms of saving the day, saving the daytime, the time of the day. It's a great saving both in terms of crew and the time. So high resolution cameras, this is not the only upside of this camera, so let's move on. Of course, I will tell you about this frame freeze. I don't know if there will be another example, but even this is not all. Transferring such a big file to PowerPoint to a full HD monitor the screen is very difficult. not so there will be bound to be some artifacts, but even here you're able to count these sort of, you can see those all the details. Let's move on. I would like to thank Oleg Rabi. He's the man who tested this camera, a cinematographer and a photographer previously he used to work in National Geographic, who together with his wife make macro shots for stocks. He probably, I think his stock is on 0.5, so he allowed us to use those photographs. So now, I don't know if you can see that, because it is pretty low. Let's read that. 12K, 3x2, open gate. In a DCI format, we have 100 FPS in the panoramic aspect, 12K. We have 120 FPS. If we want to play Super 35, because plenty of lenses use Super 35, we all still have high res. We have 9K. So for any anamorphosis or any more square image, we have 100 FPS. If we are talking about the next great advantage, 8K and 4K, which still are in RAW format, we are not losing anything in terms of data, and we do not have dots as we have in other cameras due to the special construction of this sensor. We have 120 FPS in the panoramic format, regardless whether it's 8K or 10K, 244 FPS. So in terms of slow motion, this is huge. The leader so far, Red Virato, got 120 frames per second in 8K. Here it's twice as much. Yeah, please sit closer to us. Who could leave such a bag here? We were prepared for a big room and for the screen, but let's try to do this here. 12K is just one part of this camera. It's very fast, it's very efficient, and it allows you to make smaller resolutions, because you don't always need 12K without dots. So if we're making a documentary, we need a lot of material. We have only one media carrier. We go to Greenland, and of course a bucket of batteries, and we're recording the last white bear in Greenland. We can go down to 4K, and you can record a lot, and you don't have a crop. So you're doing something simple, like let's say like a side job. You record it in 4K for social media, where you don't need to get so much information on the screen, because it will be lost somewhere in processing, and it will not be a translation that would be important for the posterity. 4K, still without crop, still raw, still ISO is being. You can change ISO, we can the white balance, and we have no crop. Okay, let's move on, because there are other interesting features. And here we're getting to what I was mentioning. This one module, added immediately with the camera, allows you for 15 hours of recording in Q5 quality, very very good quality, with 24 FPS. At 24 FPS, you have huge files, but you still have more than one day, more than one filming day on one module. Counting 50 FPS, it's 7.5 hours. It's still a lot. If you decide to record with 8:1 compression, static compression, we will explain that in a while. We have 8 hours 20 minutes and 3 hours 20 with 3:1. 3:1 at such a high resolution generates. It's a mid-format photo camera. It's top tier. So from this point of view, this camera offers the image of of photo cameras, which are a few times more expensive. So it never happened that a film camera would give you a better quality than photo camera. In terms of production, we have SDI sockets. They can work also in other modes, so you can to set up them differently for the focus puller and for the director, depending on where you would like to set them. We have an earphones socket. We're not. If you're working with a sound engineer, you can connect it and everything works. Timecode, virtual production, multi-camera production, everything is there within the standard. You do not need any extensions, any adapters. Everything is already embedded. Viewfinder is with USB-C. So I don't know if you've been to the Canon lecture. They sort of borrowed a number of things from Blackmagic and they introduced USB-C. It's good because if you have a cable, you can connect, you can change the connection, and you don't have to be worried that you forgot a cable. If you are in Greenland looking for this last white bear, polar bear, you do not have a preview here. This is the democratization of the equipment you told about. Many of producers start to introduce into those cameras, whether it's Blackmagic or Canon, who Mariusz was talking about it yesterday. There was also a specialist cable to the viewer, so it's so specialist that it would be difficult to find the cable even in Warsaw if you were there and you needed it right now. Here, things get simpler, and many of you don't like USB-C because USB-C doesn't look like something special. But here you can connect this with the help of a screw, so you can screw it on. So we are able to secure it, or you can buy 5 such cables. Complete with cameras, we have 3 cables. We will say that you have the viewer here, you have download of the material, but this is not the only advantages of USB-C. I checked this on my laptop, and it works with Ursa 2. It changes this USB-C into HDMI. Of course, you lose control because you have some additional control buttons here. But if for any reason we need an HDMI, so for example, SDI BNC connector or socket got broken, you take from your own laptop the USB-C HDMI adapter, and it works perfectly. You have plenty of possibilities here. Viewfinder, EDF monitor, which was also presented. We don't have it with us, unfortunately. It's also USB-C connected. They are loaded from one cable. They steered by one cable and send data by the same cable. In terms of viewfinder, Blackmagic as of today showed 2 models of this camera. Both of them are packed in a case. We are using this case right now to show the screen. One of them is with viewfinder already. The second Ursa is still cheaper, even though the viewfinder is not there. Not everyone today uses viewfinder. It is included in one camera. In the other one you have to buy it, and then you have a smaller case. We don't have too much time. Let's move on. Connection with Fizz. Is it data control, or if you need that, no problem. It is embedded. You don't need additional accessories. You connect and it works. It's plug and play. 2 USB-C ports for computer terminal. You can connect to the computer here, to a disk, configure, program it as you wish. Additional USB-C is somewhere there in the back. And there was one more here, but so there's plenty of that here. And it's fully configurable, just like web camera. But that would be crazy if this camera could also be a computer camera. I see another point, different points here. We also have an Ethernet connector here. The RJ45, the popular one, just like the
dzisiejszym. Dlaczego takie złącza?
Why do we have these inlets? It's another possibility of downloading the footage, not the last one, because we also have antennas, and we'll talk about antennas in a while. So if we don't have a media dock, we can still download directly from the camera. If we have a USB cable, we can connect it and direct it and download it directly to a laptop we have with us. The camera, after connecting and downloading a free software from Blackmagic website, becomes an FTP disk.
Prosta rzecz.
Copy paste, a simple thing. This is not even a camera. This can also work as a disk. It can be shared, and there's like it contains a really good high-class computer inside. But you can also connect via internet, via Ethernet cable. That allows you to send the data wherever. It's just a matter anywhere. The camera, it's just a matter of configuration. Apart from raw files, it's a small. Sorry, no, not ProRes. Oh, okay, proxy. I was thinking about proxy files. So it records in proxy files. Why? Already while you're working, you can send those files through the internet to post-production, to the editor. The editor can work on smaller files already edit some things and then get the raws after the filming set and just substitute or like replace the files. As of today, this works together with Blackmagic Clouds. Blackmagic, apart from their DaVinci software, provides also a cloud service. You can buy your own disk, a pod, or you can buy a place in the cloud directly from this camera. It will be configured. You can immediately transfer the data to the cloud. This is what I was talking about, the question of certain backup of the data during the work of the camera, during recording. It automatically can send these files. Yeah, let's move on. So now talking about the differences, maybe you know everything already, but we have different kinds of recording. We have bitrate and constant quality. The difference is in constant quality, every frame is compressed independently in a certain scope, in a certain range, based on the calculation of the computer. How much space do you need not to lose the right quality? It's higher mathematics. That's why there are certain ranges in terms of how much data can be contained there. It depends on what sort of scenes we're shooting. If there's very little movement, the algorithm is very, very shrewd. It's very intelligent. And constant bitrate, it assumes that we have a certain fixed range and compresses the files to that level. So here we are able to have a very good indication down to a bit how much space will be covered taken by the how much space will be occupied by our files. These two are full HD, bit 220, very light codec. Even on a smartphone, on iPad, you will be able to edit that. Yes, so you can connect your iPhone or your Samsung to this camera and release all the data from the movie. Yes, it can be your internet hub. It can be your window to the world. Oleg Rabi's picture. Again, Oleg has to stay in Katowice because he's also a teacher, a lecturer, but this is another of his pictures. I was wondering if we put in a certain size here, we would not see a man with a camera. This is not a picture. Would not put that camera to make one picture. It's just one frame, cropped probably a bit into full HD, so that my laptop would work in PowerPoint, but this is what it looks like in reality. While I remember, in new Blackmagics, OLPF was updated. The OLPF has a very good reduction right now. It used to happen that we had a guy in a black tracksuit, and there was a lot of noise there, a bit of a violet, because this filter, there was an unseen light, but the sensor saw it, and it registered some strange. I didn't know how to recode it. Right now, there's nothing like that. If you look at Sony Burano, which has electric NDEC, the problem is very high there, and people in blacks are just violet. They're that's about the precision of the unseen spectrum beyond the range of sight. Right now, Blackmagic works very well in here. It works fantastically. So these problems that people had with Blackmagic were totally abated. Downloading materials through the net. We talked about that. Web Manager, it's an application. These applications are free of charge. So you can take any sort of equipment. There are no limitations, and you can use them. SMB, FTP are also for you. So if you wanted to do something with this streaming with the use of protocols, well, it can also be your computer camera and many other things. Anything that we could use is here. So I'm clicking, and yeah, apart from the fact that this camera has all these things, all new things that we've been talking about, they also have older things: focus demo and zoom demo. Like the everything. If you from Blackmagic product range, if you connect here, it will work here. You can make any project with every project here. We can say here that when it comes to focus and zoom the mount, I don't know if you understand, if you know those TV cameras which have two handles next to the tripod, and the operator cannot. Has everything on this handle, has controls on these handles. They work very well. They're also compatible. Again, Blackmagic gives you something that used to cost a lot with other companies. Here you have these things at a very attractive price. So you can change your film camera into broadcasting camera, still having a Cine image, but working like guys work in TV stations. It's not a secret. This was also tested by one of our clients. I didn't tell you initially. I told you about the movie, about the commercials. I talked about stock, but this camera was tested in one of the bigger events. 25th year anniversary of InPost. It was put there, as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way, when other cinema cameras and other cameras had a problem with light rays. This camera had no problem. It recorded like a human eye. So very quickly, we sort of made it as a joke, but it occurred to be a very good general camera, and we attached some cooker there too. It was an experiment, and it surprised us that even this dynamic range allows you more in live broadcasting. Here about the history, about the first camera, about panels, what changed, what's most important democratization of the movie. Blackmagic gives tools to people who are creative and can transfer their creative thoughts to the world and not try to collect money throughout their life to make this one movie of their dreams. Large format, full frame, what we get in a set, PF and L with a cable. You don't need to think what you're missing. The shimming mechanism, especially the older lenses, require a bit of a regulation. The machines were less precise in the past, but this mechanism is right now already embedded. The whole socket mechanism So right now when you're changing the socket, you're unscrewing 4 or 5 screws, you remove the tube, you put in the next tube, you screw in, you do not need, and it's ready. You do not need to open the whole camera. It's almost a hot swap. And all that in one suitcase. So on one hand, we have a PL socket, like the film magnet. We have the EF socket with an additional screw, butterfly screw. So if it's on a crane or on a grip, and it's if we decide to get the EF socket, they are not worse visually, apart from the fact that we have a limited steering because these are not strictly film like cinematic lenses. This clasp allows you to be sure that you will not be looking for your lens in the somewhere in the cornfield, because it's very, very, very secure. In terms of middle format, if we have a signature or some other lenses, like typically LP lenses, we can always attach them. Even though for this version 12K that is full frame, this is not a must-have yet. Soon there will be Ursa 2 12K 17 Cine, which has a middle format. In order to cover that such a broad image, this bigger socket will be necessary, not to have some sort of artifacts. That's why we'll have LPL, and already in production we have Hasselblad's socket V version. But Oleg, our colleague here, already tested some of those things, and some of these things will also be available in that big camera. This big camera will be available in March, February, March. Maybe some people say it will be this year, but knowing life, I believe it will be next year. 16 degrees of dynamic range, so it's like really impressive. It is equal or even better than some of the top cameras. Just remember that this is not as expensive as the flagship cameras of other companies. We have FPS control. We've been talking about that, and the filters are available here. These are set filters of stable quality. Some people might complain that they are not electronic. Unfortunately, this technology still has some teething problems. Urano tends to have problems with the light outside of human sight range, but so we use the old but proven technology. The aperture control, we can use it. We can control it electronically. You can have had it connected through a protocol on the display. Leica Italia, I don't know, you can see that we have it here. I'm changing the aperture, and the camera also sees it. This is the protocol that allows the camera to record that information. When it comes to screens, this is a thing that people don't pay attention, but apart from it does not only turn, it also can be blocked. So we have screens on both parts. They are very good, they are very, very comfortable to use. In comparison to old cameras where they sort of were into blue and green color. Here, looking from the side, you can see very precisely the colors. So, truth to be told, if I had a problem with budgeting this camera, I would take it without VFI and work on this preview, because when compared that with the first Ninja 5, this is a better viewer. Not only brighter, but also the control is better. When it comes to the second screen, it's great if you work in a team. When you hold the camera on your arm as a cameraman, at some point you have to change something, to check something, click something on some sort of output for the director, because he wants to see something or doesn't want to see something. So the cameraman doesn't need to walks up. The cameraman's assistant comes to the camera and selects one of the options. we do not have, unfortunately, the one thing that is not there, we do not have a playback. Because you would want to have a playback of the footage and then look what it looks like in reality. So in terms of review, it's here already on the left hand side, but there will be also added on the right hand side. So don't worry. It's good to see which camera works, which camera records, even if we sometimes do an interview and have one more camera and we stand on the side to make it easier to for example, to talk to the camera. It's good to look if there's something red. It's a small thing, it's a small red light shining. It's a small thing, but it's good to have it. In every standard, in every camera, in every everything is being transferred. Time code, of course, this is standard. What's interesting here, the producer declares that drift should be smaller than 1 frame per 8 hours. So it's not that the sound guys would be sort of changing the time code. Of course, you better do that twice a day. But it's an extremely precise time code. This is a great move in the right direction to make things easier, especially in post-production. I believe that the last slide, I think we discussed it already. These are the fittings and connections. So these are the cassettes that you select. We try not to spew. We don't do, It's better not to destroy the sensor or get soiled, the electronics soiled, but it's not a very difficult thing anyway in this sort of replacement. We have a few working slides, but I don't know how much time do we have. So we've been talking for an hour, yes? So let's do it like this. If you have any questions, because I have a number of working slides which will be useful with questions, maybe I will just give you one of my microphones. This is how we agreed. How much time can the camera work on one battery? The battery that we have in this camera, we know it from Alexa S35. It's a typical V-Log or Goldman will not work. We need a higher voltage. So depending on the size of the battery and how many things we put in this camera. From our experience, it looked like this, that on 290 suite, it worked for 3-something hours. And how much and the memory card, depending on the mode, 7 hours at the most intensive mode. But without any problem, just give me a sec. Can you see what I'm clicking there? So we're going to record, we take 12K, we have open gate to load the camera as much as possible, but let's not go crazy. Let's go with Q3 like a typical standard. We have 4 hours on the card, 4 hours 40. Is there anything recorded here? No, but if we moved on to 4K, constant bitrate, we have 7 hours. We have 10 hours on 8K. 16 per 9. Q3. 44 hours. We're being streamed, so we need to be careful to talk into the microphones. I prepared here a few things, but on the website of Blackmagic we have a full calculator. Before you work, you can get prepared. I did here a number of calculations, selecting open gate 12K in the best codec. What Kuba mentioned here, that we have a stable quality here, so this bitrate can be between 300 to
bajta na sekundę.
1.5 gigabyte per second. So that's pure raw format. So on 8 terawatt disk, it's like 2.5 hours. That's the minimum. But this size of files is falling very fast, and the compressing engines are very effective. So unless we do some very complicated K-framing from green screen, these data might be useful, but in a normal mode of use, 8K 16:9 8:1 gives it's 6 hours of constant recording. It's a crazy stuff. It's a constant recording time. And I prepared here also, I don't think I have it anymore. I think afterwards we'll be able to approach the computer, and we also have set up 4K in 25 frames. It shows me 44 hours. So I prepared a number of stuff here for myself, but as I said, on the website of Blackmagic, next to this camera you have the calculator. Red did that before, and other companies did that too, to show. So here it's very nicely shown. This is a part of this calculator. In 12K 25 FPS gives us 44 hours, but I've twice as much content here. So if you did 25 FPS, if you wanted to compare 12K in OpenGate, 2.5 hours, with 25 FPS to 8K, we have over 16. 12 godzin. 12 hours. There are no such filming sets unless somebody does something wrong. But of continuous work, there's always some break. There should be a break. I wanted to talk about. I'm wondering if I have anything interesting. We will not torment you with like bombard you with such images. You can have a look at this. You can try it. This is for Pixies? Yes, this is Pixies. It's I wanted to slowly move on to other toys that we brought here before we invite you to join us here in the front. When it comes to Pixies, in 2 words, this is our version. It's not well set up yet because we didn't manage to do it yet, but thanks to Asus, which sent a small rig for this, a small cage for this, but we were already thinking about some sort of add-ons to that cage. But when you see a camera that is so small, smaller, bigger, you can make this also look like this. You can change it into this form, in a big form. It's a 6K camera. Both cameras are here, and you can enjoy working with them. For both cameras, you can attach PL solutions. Right now, even on Pixies, there is an adapter. Here, by standard, the Pixies, it's the Sigma socket. Leica came up with that for many times, so that's why it starts with L. But Lumix, Sigma, Panasonic use that, and since recently also Blackmagic. Why L? They started with L initially. Pixies will also be produced with EF socket and PL. And we'll see how it will work. Why did they start with L? Because there's plenty of adapters from L to PL. From the shorter register, it's easier to go into the longer register. It's very difficult to do it the other way around. These adapters are not expensive. Of course, you can get the ones which are expensive, which are cheaper. Everybody will find something for themselves. We have creativetools in our name. It's our brand, so we're trying to be creative about our tools for our filmmakers.
proponując firmę Ejcin. To jest polska firma z Podkarpacia.
Oh, it's a Polish company from Podkarpacie which produces very interesting equipment when it comes to all sorts of cages and rigs. Sorry, and handles. We keep our fingers crossed for them. This Pixis is going back to them for 2 days only for them to handle it and improve something in the cages. However, this socket that we have here, this is a socket by C7 adapters. This is also a Polish company that does very well not only on the Polish market but also internationally. When it comes to Pixis, the L socket allows us to connect L solutions. Here we have prepared for you cameras with like IRIX lens with EL. You can connect EL lenses because of that, thanks to that, but also through an Sigma adapter MC21 that I was mentioning, you can connect with EF lenses and even film lenses, EF lenses. So the selection of a socket with the camera is very important in order to have an interesting possibility of the range of using the lens. So if you go into a Canon or Sony, you can use certain things through an adapter. You can go through even to Nikon. The performance loses a bit, but it's possible. We can propose to you any solution. So that's the end of our slide presentation. Any more questions? We'll pass the microphone to you because, as I said, this is a live. So I wanted to ask about B4 connection fixing and broadcasting. No, we haven't yet, but B4 connection is for a lens for much smaller sensors. Adapted to much smaller sensors. Before is a broadcast connection to the TV cameras, but the lenses are very interesting, like HD resolution, which have something like that. I'm absolutely sure that it will be just a part of the sensor. Of course, if we get from Ursa 12K to 12K or to 12K to 8K to 6K, there will be no vignetting, but the socket is much smaller and will not allow. Formally, it is possible. Technically, this is possible. I don't remember the final resolution, but it is about f16. So out of 6K sensor, only 2K was left, and from 12K, quite a lot should stay there. But let's keep in mind that you have to move on, and these cameras really get, like, here you have the full potential of these cameras. So connecting them with these lenses is not really purposeful. It's more a question of, the mount, the ones with the mount before were created for TV cameras where the depth of field was much smaller, which was not so necessary in TV. Right now, the TV is getting into those bigger sensors, and all these broadcast lens shift from B4 to PL. Here we would have 9K. Anybody else has a question? You can come up here. You can walk up here. Okay, so let's finish the lecture and let's get the camera and let's have fun. So, having fun? Okay, and so we're finishing our live. Thank you very much.